Welcome to another deep dive. This time around, we're tackling a listener question, a really great one, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, someone wrote in asking about Microsoft's Xbox gaming division.
Okay.
They want to know how it's actually performing, what's coming up next for them, and what are the biggest opportunities and risks.
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah, and to get to the bottom of all that, we're going straight to the source, Microsoft's 2024 10K filing.
All right.
Now, I know a 10K isn't exactly like beach reading.
It's a little dry.
Yeah, but buried in all those numbers, there are some serious insights.
Oh, absolutely. 10Ks, they go deep. They give you a level of detail and transparency that you just don't get anywhere else. It's like it's like a treasure map to the real story.
Okay, so before we dive headfirst into all things Xbox, can you give us a quick overview of Microsoft's performance based on this 10K, just to set the stage?
Sure. So this 10K covers Microsoft's fiscal year 2024, which ended June 30th of this year. And 2024 was a monster year for them.
Like, how big are we talking?
Well, their revenue hit $245 billion,
Right.
up from $211 billion in 2023.
Okay, so that's a pretty massive jump. What were some of their biggest expenses this year?
Well, a huge chunk went to employee compensation. Makes sense with the global workforce like theirs. And of course, a lot of spending on cloud infrastructure and product development, which is critical for their future, including for Xbox.
Okay, speaking of spending, one figure that really caught my eye was the $114 billion with a B, that they spent on property and equipment in 2024 alone.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge number.
Right, that's more than the GDP of a lot of countries.
That's right. And a lot of that's got to be going to expanding those data centers, which are essential for their cloud business, including Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Okay.
Plus, with AI and machine learning taking off, that investment is a strategic move that goes way beyond gaming.
So it's clear that Microsoft is in it for the long haul. They're investing big time in infrastructure for their future plans. Now let's zero in on Xbox. Where does it fit into this bigger picture?
So Xbox is part of what they call the more personal computing segment in the 10K.
More personal computing.
Yeah. And that might sound a little broad, but it covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Windows, devices like the Surface and HoloLens, PC accessories, and then, of course, gaming. That's where Xbox lives, including hardware, content, and services.
Okay, so it's a pretty diverse mix. So tell me, how is Xbox actually doing financially?
Well, gaming revenue saw a huge jump in 2024, up a whopping 39% to hit $6 billion.
Wow, 39%. That's impressive. What's driving that growth?
Well, there's two sides to that growth story. Xbox content and services revenue exploded by 50% in 2024.
50%? That's massive. What's behind that?
Yeah, well, one word comes to mind, Activision Blizzard.
Ah, yes. The Activision Blizzard deal. That was big news. Can you remind us what makes them so important?
Sure. They are behind some of the biggest franchises in gaming, like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush. I mean, these are games with huge global audiences. Microsoft definitely knew what they were doing when they added those titles to their portfolio.
So how much of that 50% growth can we chalk up to Activision Blizzard?
Well, the 10K actually breaks that down. It says that the acquisition contributed 44 percentage points to that growth.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it was a pretty significant impact then.
Yeah, no doubt.
So even without Activision Blizzard, Xbox content and services were still growing, but obviously at a much slower pace. So something else must be contributing to that growth.
Absolutely. Activision Blizzard is a big piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole story. And that leads us to the question of what else is driving Xbox's growth? Well, the 10K gives us a few hints. You know how we talked about Microsoft's big investments in cloud infrastructure?
Yeah.
Well, those are directly tied to their plans for Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Oh, right. Cloud gaming. That's been getting a lot of buzz, but honestly, I'm still not quite sure I totally get it. Could you break it down for me?
Yeah, sure.
Like, explain it like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine you want to play like the hottest new game, but your laptop just isn't powerful enough to run it smoothly. That's where cloud gaming comes in. Instead of the game running on your device, it actually runs on these super powerful servers in Microsoft's data centers.
Okay.
And then the game's video output that gets streamed to your device. It's kind of like how you stream a movie on Netflix.
Okay.
And then your inputs from your controller, those get sent back to the server, like in real time.
So it's basically like having a crazy, powerful gaming PC in the cloud that you can access from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection.
Exactly. That's the whole idea. No need for expensive hardware. All you need is a decent internet connection, and you can play the latest games.
So how does this all fit into Microsoft's overall strategy for Xbox? Like, what are they hoping to achieve with cloud gaming?
Well, from what I'm seeing in the 10K, They see cloud gaming as a key part of the future of Xbox. It allows them to reach way more people, not just console gamers.
Right, so they don't need to convince people to buy a console. They can reach anyone who has internet.
Exactly. It just opens up gaming to so many more people. People who might be intimidated by consoles or people who just, don't want to spend a ton of money on hardware.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there are some challenges with cloud gaming. What kind of risks does Microsoft point to in the 10K?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There are definitely some hurdles. Probably the biggest one is latency.
Latency.
Yeah, the delay between, when you press a button and when you actually see the action on screen. Since the game is running remotely, even a tiny delay can make some games, especially those fast-paced action games, feel like really unresponsive.
Right. Lag is super annoying.
Exactly. Another big one is bandwidth. Streaming these high-quality game graphics takes a ton of data, so you absolutely need a fast, stable internet connection.
So really, if cloud gaming is going to be the future, we need to see even more improvements in internet speed and availability.
Absolutely. And Microsoft actually acknowledges that in the 10K. They know that the success of cloud gaming depends on a lot of things that are totally outside of their control.
So it's a bit of a gamble, but it seems like they're betting big on this technology.
They are.
So we've got cloud gaming. What else is Microsoft doing to drive growth, aside from, the Activision Blizzard deal?
Well, there's another major initiative that really jumps out in the 10K, and that's Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, yeah. Game Pass. I've heard a lot about that. People call it like the Netflix of gaming, right?
That's the one. It's a subscription service where you pay a monthly fee and you get access to a whole library of games.
So you just pay one price and you can play all kinds of games.
Hundreds of games.
Wow.
New releases, classic titles. It's like, an all-you-can-eat buffet of games.
That sounds like a pretty amazing deal. But what's the bigger picture here? Why is Microsoft investing so heavily in Game Pass?
Well, the 10K gives us some clues. Microsoft wants to move away from that, transactional model where you buy individual games.
Okay.
And instead, they want to move towards a model where they have recurring revenue.
Right. So they want to get people subscribing so that they have a consistent stream of income.
Exactly. By building up these subscribers, they're not relying on selling each individual game, and it creates this more engaged user base.
Right. It makes sense. It's like the difference between selling albums and, streaming music.
Exactly. And that's what they're going for. They want to build up this loyal community of subscribers who are constantly engaging with the Xbox ecosystem.
Okay, so Game Pass is a big deal for their strategy. But how does it relate to cloud gaming? Are they connected at all?
Oh, they're totally intertwined. Actually, one of the best things about Game Pass is that it includes access to Xbox cloud gaming.
Oh, wow. So as a Game Pass subscriber, you can play games on your console, but also stream them to other devices through the cloud.
Exactly.
That's pretty smart. So they're creating this whole ecosystem where Game Pass is your ticket to all sorts of different ways to play. Console, PC, even your phone.
Right. And that's where you start to see just how smart their strategy is. They're building this holistic gaming experience.
So we've got cloud gaming, we've got Game Pass. It seems like Microsoft is going all in on the future of gaming.
Huh.
But of course, with any big move like this, there are always risks. What are some of the challenges that Microsoft will have to overcome to really make this vision a reality?
Well, one of the biggest risks is competition.
Yeah.
The gaming world it's intense.
Right. You've got Sony, you've got Nintendo. They've got their own hardcore fans.
Exactly. Those are some well-established players. They're not going anywhere.
So how does Microsoft plan to stand out in such a crowded market?
Well, from what I'm seeing in the 10K, differentiation is key for them. They're really leaning into their strengths.
Okay. Like what?
Like their expertise in cloud computing, their resources. They want to create experiences that you can't get anywhere else. It's not just about having the most powerful console.
Right. It's the whole package. Services, the games themselves, the community.
Exactly. And another risk they point out is their reliance on those third-party developers. Xbox needs those developers to keep making awesome games that bring players to their platform.
It's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
Xbox needs great games, and developers need a platform where they can reach a big audience.
Right. And if those developers start focusing on other platforms, well, that could be a problem for Xbox.
Yeah.
But the 10K also shows that Microsoft is putting money into their own game studios, which could help.
Right, so they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. They're trying to diversify a bit.
Right.
And then there's the whole security issue.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one these days.
Huge. I mean, gaming platforms are a prime target for hackers, right? You've got millions of users, their personal info, financial transactions. It's like a magnet for cyber attacks.
So what is Microsoft doing to protect Xbox and its users?
Well, the 10K doesn't give us step-by-step details, but they do make it clear that security and privacy are top priorities. They're putting a ton of money into cybersecurity.
Okay, good to know. So we've talked about competition, we've talked about developers, security, anything else in the 10K?
Yeah, one more thing they mention is the rising cost of, well, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Producing hardware.
Right. Inflation, supply chain issues.
Exactly. That's something that's impacting a lot of tech companies.
Right. Everything's more expensive.
Yeah. And that means it's probably costing more to make those consoles, which could hurt their profits.
Right. So with all these challenges and all these risks, what does the 10K tell us about Microsoft's vision for Xbox? What's the game plan going forward?
Well, they make it very clear that they see gaming as a major growth area. They're not just dipping their toes in the water here.
Right.
They're diving headfirst into the future of gaming.
They're all in.
They are.
What are the key parts of that strategy?
Well, we already talked about two of the big ones, cloud gaming and Game Pass. They are going all in on those. They are investing heavily in the infrastructure, the content, and they also talk a lot about creating, quote, high-value end-user experiences, unquote.
What does that even mean?
Well, they're talking about pushing the limits of gaming.
Yeah.
Creating more immersive, more engaging experiences.
Okay, so things like virtual reality, augmented reality, even the metaverse.
Exactly. And when you think about it, it all ties back to their investment in cloud gaming, because that could be the key to unlocking those crazy immersive experiences.
So they're really thinking long-term, not just next year, but, 5 years, 10 years down the line.
That's right.
So it sounds like Microsoft is betting big on a future where gaming is more accessible, more immersive, more integrated into our lives than ever before.
Absolutely.
Wow. This has been a fascinating deep dive. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this.
My pleasure.
To our listener, we hope this has given you a better understanding of what's going on with Xbox and where things might be headed. And if you want to do your own deep dive into the 10K, we'll include a link in the show notes.
It's amazing to think how much gaming has already evolved, and who knows what the future holds.
It's going to be an exciting ride, that's for sure. So until next time, stay curious,